Hello, everyone. Here we are again with another Ativore Talks, where we bring the most important business partners of ours in US to discuss about, what's going on in US, what is going on within the real estate markets where they operate, and also very important about what's happening with the properties that our investors have on their own real estate portfolios. So I'm here today with Hue Chen, president of Saglo Development, a company that we have been working together for more than 5 years now, and which is responsible for the first private equity real estate deal that we invested many, many years ago. They worked for decades on the retail industry, and we specifically had participation in 4 strip mall deals with them. So thank you, Hugh, for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So where do we start?
Yeah, we have a lot to talk, right? So we know there's a difference between the malls, right? The big retail malls, and in comparison with strip malls, the type of asset that we invest with you for many, many years. How does these markets are performing right now? And are you noticing big differences between them? And more specifically for Florida, how Florida has been impacted so far, and how they are dealing with the crisis on the strip mall side, meaning how they are helping your businesses to keep going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So number one, the mall business, which is the big enclosed malls, they're suffering the most, 100%. There's not even the same, category as the amount of suffering than anybody else. A lot of the mall tenants, which is Macy's, JC Penney, even Nordstrom, Victoria's Secret, the Gap, and all of those guys, they stopped paying rent in some cases, And so I know a lot of the mall owners, they are really one of the most affected, or the most affected in all of retail. So for the strip centers, there's a lot of categories of strip centers also. There's the power center that, maybe you have Home Depot and Ross and Michael's and Dick's Sporting Goods and a lot of big stores we call big boxes. And then there's community centers where maybe there's only 1 or 2 big boxes and a lot of smaller strip tenants. Local tenants is what we call it, or inline tenants. And then there's a real neighborhood center that might be under 50,000 square feet, that there really isn't any big boxes, just a lot of smaller spaces and maybe a medium-sized box. So the power centers are actually affected a lot as well, because the tenants like Michael's and Dick's Sporting Goods and Office Depot and Staples, a lot of these guys are either not paying rent or only sending in a part of the rent, or really trying to fight the landlords to give them some sort of relief on their rent. Now the community centers and the strip centers that we invest in, that's performing the best. I can tell you that, so Saglo owns 19 shopping centers, about 1.9 million square feet. We have over 300 tenants. And in April and in May, we collected more rent than we thought we were going to collect, given all of the circumstances. Yeah. So the REITs, the Real Estate Investment Trust, the REITs, on their earnings call a few weeks ago, they all reported that they're collecting, call it 55% of the rent, something in that range. On average, call it 50 to 55% of the rent. At Saglo, we're collecting 70 to 82% of the rent. Okay. And so we're collecting a lot more of the rent, mainly because I think there's a few things. Number one, in our strategy, we always buy properties that the tenants are not paying too much rent to begin with. So if your rent is already low, then you have less excuse not to pay the rent, because it's not that big of an expense compared to all the expenses of the business, right? So I think that was a good strategy. The second also is that the tenant mix, the type of tenants there are necessity tenants and, tenants that are needed. The dollar stores, always stayed open. The discount stores stayed open. A lot of the restaurants, and we don't really have any big restaurants at our shopping centers. All the restaurants at our shopping centers are typically under 2,000 square feet. So they're smaller. They don't have that much dining room to begin with. So they were it was very easy for them to just service their customers through takeout and delivery.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of medical tenants as well. And, and luckily the national tenants that were part of our properties, they ended up doing the right thing. I can't say 100% everyone's doing the right thing, but by the majority of the tenants that we're working with are doing the right thing, and I think that we'll resolve everything with the rest of them in the next couple months.